think both student-centered learning and learner-centered teaching, were those the two?
So, yeah, well, there was three. There was teacher-centered, learning-centered, and student-centered.
Okay. So I think it also just depends on the context and like the goals of the educational setting. For example, I think that for student-centered learning,
Yes.
that could, if you want to help your students with maybe critical thinking skills or autonomy, maybe like self-directed learning skills, that could help. Also for independent thinking or to help them with their problem-solving skills, and then that approach could help.
That
And
that's student-centered.
yes,
Yes. Okay. Thanks, Ashad. Yes. Carry
and
on.
then with learning-centered, I'm not really sure, but I think that could maybe help them to construct their own understanding of the information, and maybe to reflect on the knowledge that was shared with them. Maybe that's more useful if you want them to like master specific skills or competencies.
Nice. Very nice. I like that, Ashad. Um, Anybody else? I see Bontler and um, Clifford, Louis, Candice. You happy to participate if you can?
I just jump in just to.
Yes, sure.
So I'm not very knowledgeable on these things, but I would say that just the student-centered approach seemed quite difficult to me, just because one needs to really get to know students, and also I often, when I teach inclusive education, and I often say to my students that it's very difficult to know a learner because they could be a different person depending on what happened to them that morning, or you know. So it's difficult to kind of suggest that one knows a learner. But the learning-centered approach I like because I think as an educator, I'd like to teach my students how to learn, and in that way, they kind of develop. They are capable of developing independently of, our own limitations, or the limitations that we may impose on them, and then maybe teach them how to recognize opportunities for learning. So that's why I kind of like that learning-centered approach. But I wouldn't say that I'm really good at it.
No.
I probably
So I
didn't.
think that's what we were trying to do here. Thank you so much, Louis. Um, I think that's what we were trying to do here, in that if you listen to all three, it's like we're doing all of this anyway. And that's, and people use the terms, some people use it interchangeably, and for some people there's a definite difference. And so that's what we were trying to establish. Is there a difference? Is it on a whole spectrum kind of thing? Does it depend on the context? And I don't think there's anybody that's knowledgeable about it. So don't, you're not Yeah, don't say that about yourself. We all not knowledgeable about this. We all learning together. Anybody else wants to come in and add to this? Clifford, Bontle, I know Candace said she's driving.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Although also I'm not really coming
Mm,
from the teaching side of things. I'm from quality. Yeah, I think for me, like one speaker has indicated that I think at times there's a very thin line between the three
mm,
of the I don't know whether it's methods that were presented, and the mere fact that it at times it depends more on the context, like one of the speakers has already indicated. But I think at the end of the day, uh, the method of teaching that is really, I mean, for me, teaching should be student centered, so that they will be able to also use their experiences in terms of the learning process, intentional learning process, and sometimes unintentional learning processes. So I think for me, I lean more into whether there are elements of teacher centered, but at the end of the day, it should be um, for, for the benefit of the student uh, learning, so that they take responsibility for their own learning, and then the issues around student centered. So yeah, I think that's my view. Thanks.
okay. Thank you so much. That's interesting because you called it student centered by teaching them that skill of being able to learn and being able to take advantage of those learning opportunities and develop those sort of skills. um, and Louis referred to the same thing, but he said he called it learning centered. And so, and that's where this whole dilemma comes in. Are these terms interchangeable? Is there a difference? What does it mean? Bontle, do you want to come in? Okay, we can't hear Bontle.
Asha, can I maybe just add a few more
Yes,
things?
sure.
So when Nasira was speaking, I know she mentioned something about learning styles. But
Yes.
that's according to research. I'm sure you
Mm-hmm.
know that it's a myth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Absolutely.
then another thing, also in you were speaking, I think you said that you put every student at the center of your learning and you
Mm,
try to cater for every single individual.
mm, mm,
Um, and I was just wondering how exactly you do that. I know that there are um, s- like the universal design for learning that
mm,
caters for all students.
mm.
And also remembered when Prof. Stradham was speaking on Tuesday, he said that
Yes.
if you design for the margins, you design for everyone. So
Yes.
it's a bit related to it, but I was still just wondering, like, can you like cater your learning for every single individual learner by like taking into account all of their backgrounds and
So,
experiences and all of that?
yeah, so what I said there was basically an exaggerated statement around student-centeredness, but I agree with you, Ashad, and I agree with that concept of UDL and what Francois Stradham said, about the if if you design for the margins, you can cover everybody. And I think part of the problem, and that's why I also stressed, because it doesn't gel together to say, um, I want to cater to every single student, and I want to get to know every single student. When we're sitting with classes, some people have classes of 900 or 500 students. You know, how do you get to know 500 people intimately enough to create a customized experience for them? So I don't always think, I think it's a nice idea, but I don't know if it's going to be possible for lecturers to understand and get to know every single student that well. But I do think that choice is key. And when we, and that's where this comes in as well, it's our perceptions. Um, so if and Kirat mentioned it in the last session and in the chat, and he spoke about a hegemonic structure of in-personness, and that's kind of what we do. You know, we go according to what we think is right, and that becomes centeredness. And so we design according to the way we think it should be, and not for who's on the receiving end. So yes, so I think that needs to be rethought. We need to give more choices. If you look at UDL principles, as you know, it's all about choices. It's all about everything that we put together, every activity and assessment and whatever. It's about what is the choice for the person that is going to battle with this particular medium. Is there a choice for them? And I think the more choices we allow, we tend to cater, we may not ever be able to cover the extreme range of diverse people and cater for absolutely everybody out there, but we can cater for the bulk of them. And I think the more choices we offer, then students, we tend to reach more students and have a bigger impact on them. I don't know if that answers anything that you've asked there, Shad.
Yeah, definitely it helped. Thank you.
Sorry if I may just
Yes.
add in. Yeah, I think that when you kind of try to get to know who your students are, not even just individually, on a personal level, but just